right. On today's podcast, I welcome on a very special guest. Well, it's the head coach of Bryant football, Coach Chris Merritt. Coach, how are you today?
Well, Jeff, how are you, buddy?
I'm doing really well. How are you doing during these COVID times and everything that's going on?
Well, we're getting through it, and it's got the guys back on campus this week, and a lot of fun to go around and give virtual punches on chests and see guys, and they're excited to be back on campus, and we're just gonna take it slowly, and we'll get them started here soon.
That's great. Yeah, it's nice to at least have them on campus. At least you can keep in touch with them and be able to meet the faces without the Zoom and everything like that, right?
Yeah, I mean, the last time we got a chance to see these guys, it was our incoming freshmen that were there on their official visits, but it was also our upperclassmen that we had a dinner with the Thursday night before spring break in middle of March.
Wow.
And they never came back. So
jeez.
it's
Yeah.
I'm just excited to get everybody on campus. Got 117 faces, and you can tell they're excited. They did things the right way in the break.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's a lot of faces to keep up with. But that's awesome. I'm glad that you guys are back on campus, and hopefully at some point we can get back to some normalcy here.
Awesome. Yes, sir.
Yeah. All right, Coach. Before I ask you some questions about Bryant and the season, I want to ask you some questions about your background and how did you get started playing football, and when did you realize that football was like your love and your sport?
Well, I was the little brother. My father was my first coach. He was a youth football coach, and he had some assistant coaches that were some all-time IU greats, Indiana University greats. I grew up in Bloomington, Indiana.
Okay.
And found out real quick that I wasn't good at the local sport, which is basketball. So, being the little brother and a hardhead, football is a natural sport for me. And my dad actually, back in those days, he actually took some white out and changed my birth certificate so I could start playing a year earlier because he knew he had to let me get some of that energy out. So that was at the age of 7. And that's what I was just telling you. It's been 44 years since I've not been involved in a fall season in one way or the other, and that's a different feel.
Yeah, I was gonna say that's got to be a big change of life and pace for you. That's been your whole life. You're being part of football and everything like that. Yeah, that's crazy. How did you? And now you played at Indiana University. Read that you actually walked on, but you ended up becoming a captain of special teams. How do you decide going to Indiana, or is it just there? Or?
It was my hometown. My father worked for the university. It's where I was born and raised. I grew up in the stands. I got the opportunity to be recruited and go to some smaller programs, but at that time, Indiana was new head coach and Coach Mallory, and I wanted to play that level, and so I took the opportunity to become a walk-on, and after that first year, Coach gave me a scholarship, and the rest is history, I guess. I was a 4-year letterman and really enjoyed the experience playing the Big Ten against some of the all-time greats. So
yeah, I was gonna say, what was that experience like, just going against like Ohio States and Michigans in the Big Ten? Like,
well, first off, in practice, just to throw some names at you, my quarterback was Trent Green. Okay. So I had him in practice every single day, and then we had 2 Heisman finalists, and Anthony Thompson and Vaughn Dunbar back to back. Wow. Who were great running backs, obviously, at that time in college football. So, that, and then on Saturdays, by the way, I got to play against some of the greats across the Big Ten, whether it was Ohio State or Michigan State at the time, and Iowa, all these programs when the Big Ten was really just 10 teams. And, it was a lot of fun and took a lot of pride in it.
That's awesome. That's an experience that will probably always stick with you, right? And I'm like just playing with all those guys and everything like that, right?
No question about it. I every single guy that I played with at my position was drafted, and so Coach Mao did a great job in recruiting, and it was there where I really kind of developed my ideology as a football coach. It was there that I decided that I wanted to be a football coach down the line, because I wasn't the most athletic guy in my spot, and to compete, I had to know more than everybody else, and which forced me to become more of a student of the game. And I fell in love with it, and I really don't feel I've had a job yet since graduating. I pay the mortgage with football.
That's awesome. That's great. kind of jealous about that. But that's awesome that you've had something that you love and that you do. And you like you said, you got into coach. You decided to get into coaching when you were at Indiana. What in your first job was at Eastern Illinois? How did you get set up for that position?
Coach Mallory, this it was a late opening on the staff at Eastern Illinois. It was at the time where college football went from 5 GAs to 2, and so I kind of missed out on the boat there. I couldn't get a GA spot, and that's usually how you enter into college coaching. And they had a restricted earnings spot at Eastern Illinois that Coach Spoo at the time was the head coach there. Contacted Coach Mallory, and they threw my name around. And 2 weeks later, I was in Charleston, Illinois.
That's awesome. That's great. That's amazing. And you went from Illinois, and like, what did you learn at Eastern Illinois that you brought with you? You started coaching overseas, right?
Yeah, at Eastern Illinois, it was an induction into college football and coaching. First off, as a kid, as a player, you don't understand the amount of hours that coaches put in until you actually have to do it.
Yeah.
And that was an eye opener for me. Also, I was very fortunate in Indiana. We were very successful there. We had went to 3 bowl games. Coach Mal ran a very successful program. And my first year in college coaching, we went 3-7-1. So I saw a side of college football I hadn't experienced yet, even as a player, and that taught you a lot as well. And it was from Eastern Illinois where I learned how important loyalty was on the staff, and loyalty is period in the world of college football. Because let's face it, college football coaches, they're all alpha males, and yeah. Everybody has their own dogma. Everybody thinks their way is best, but loyalty to one another. It's hard to preach it as a coaching staff if you expect your players to have it for you as well.
Yeah, that's amazing. That I think loyalty is one that a lot of people don't think really use as much, and I think that's amazing that you said loyalty and just having that there and being able to develop that. And you went over and you coached overseas. What was that like?
Yeah, that was a strange deal. Even though I lettered all 4 years at Indiana and I played, I didn't play enough. And so when I got the opportunity at first, it was to go play over in Europe. And I thought, you know what? I was single, didn't have any kids. You're not going to get this opportunity. So I went and I played it first over in Sweden. And it was a great, great experience. I came back and then just kept getting asked back over, and eventually ended up with the Hamburg Blue Devils as the defensive coordinator in 1995, 96. And probably one of the most inspirational stories that's never been told is in 1996. I was the defensive coordinator of the Hamburg Blue Devils, and our head coach, George White, at the time, suffered a heart attack in front of the team in the middle of the national championship playoffs.
Oh, wow.
And he passed away, but we went on to play the following weekend and win the semifinal. Then we won the national championship in front of about 20,000 fans the following week. And that's where I probably would say I really cut my teeth as a coach, because over there, you're just a coach. There's no recruiting. There's no academics. There's no high school. It's none of that stuff. It's just being a football coach. And so I was submerged in it for 5 straight years as a young coach with responsibility. Became the interim head coach when Coach passed away, and then stayed on for another 3 years as the head coach before I came back to the States.
Wow, that's crazy. Like, how do you handle a situation like that when, unfortunate situation where the coach passes away? How do you keep a team motivated with that?
Well, the team motivation wasn't the hard part. The hard part was never been in before. Listen, I think every adult can probably circle dates on their life calendar of when they became a man or an adult.
Yeah.
Whether it's the birth of the child or, there's certain events in your life that take place, and having to call the wife and kids of a friend of yours that just passed away to let them know that what had happened.
Yeah.
Grow up really quick. And I was 25 at the time.
Wow.
And, it was the way that I think the staff responded and the team responded. And then, like I said, we went on to beat a team that was very good in the national championship game. And we let off some steam after that game.
That's good. That's great. Yeah. And that's an unfortunate situation, but like you said, it turned you into a man. It was a moment that changed everything and just turned you guys into a championship team and led you to a head coaching position down the line. What was that? Now, what's the fans like over there? Are they big? Were they big football fans? How are they like?
You'd be surprised the situation that if you ever do a Google search for Hamburg Blue Devils in the late 90s, and you see some of the games that were played, we had my last game with Hamburg was the national championship in front of 30,000 fans. So they're soccer fans because that's what they are,
Yeah.
and they never shut up. They never sit down. They're always waving flags, but they're loyal as loyal can be. And it was a great situation. It was a great opportunity for a young coach to be in.
That's awesome. That's really cool. And that league doesn't exist anymore because I do remember watching some games on TV. Or they
Well, you're probably thinking of the World Football League.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Yeah, the World Football League did cease to exist a few years ago, but the GFL that the Blue Devils were in still does exist. What happened was the Hamburg Blue Devils were around for several years, and when I left, a year after I left, the NFL Europe came in and took over and became the Hamburg Sea Devils.
Okay.
They couldn't use Blue Devils because of the U.S. trademark and Duke and all that stuff, so they called them the Sea Devils, and then a couple years later, the whole league went defunct. The NFL stopped funding it, but the German football league that's still going on, the Blue Devils are still around.
That's awesome. Do you ever keep like tabs on them or watch any of their
Oh,
games?
I got a bunch of buddies of mine that are still over there, and of course they're all old like me now, so but we stay in touch.
That's awesome. That's great. And what was your decision to come back to the States and be a DB's coach at Thiel College?
Well, I understood that where I was kind of a dead end in my profession.
Yeah.
I either had to resign myself to staying in Europe for the rest of my career, or if I wanted to get back into college coaching, I had to come back to the States. And as it was, my father started to get ill, so I came back to the States. And Thiel College had played over in Europe the previous year, and the head coach there had seen us on TV, and we struck up a relationship there. And when I just in conversation with him, he's now the president at St. Thomas University down in Miami, ironically. But he called and let me know he had an opportunity on his staff if I wanted to get back, and so I took it. Moved back to Pennsylvania and got him back into college football, well, that's what led to where I'm at right now.
Yeah, that's awesome. And then you actually you made the transition to high school, right? At Christopher Columbus High School down in Florida. What was that transition like? What's it like going from the college level down to the high school level and like working and building like this program that you created down there?
Well, after some time at Thiel, the head coach resigned, and so we found ourselves in a situation where, I could have stayed at the Division III school, or I had some opportunities as my family was growing, but I had some opportunities at some smaller schools. But when I just took a stab in the dark, and I actually remember the day that I came home jokingly saying, hey, I put in my resume at a Catholic high school down in Miami.
Yeah.
And not knowing anything about the history or the background of the school. And turns out Columbus High School is a very well-known school in South Florida. It's the largest private school in the state of Florida in 8A. It was 1,700 all boys. Catholic shirt and tie uniform school. It's where all the Greasies went. It's where all the Shulas went. Bonacanis, Alonzo Highsmith. They had a strong tradition because when the Dolphins were actually in Miami, they used to be in Miami, even though they're in Fort Lauderdale right now.
Yeah.
They were in Miami. That's where all the Dolphin kids attended.
Oh, wow.
That's why the Greasies went there. Bob Greasy's son, Bryant, all three sons of the Greasies went there. All the Shulas,
a
couple of Shulas, excuse me, the younger ones. So these guys the school had a strong tradition. And, I decided that, if I'm going to coach football, if I'm going to try to get into the higher levels of college football, I'm going to go where people go recruit. I'm going to be running around these college coaches all the time. And I expected to be there for 3 or 4 years, and then 18 later, still there. So it was a great opportunity. We produced hundreds of kids into college football, hundreds. I have a handful in the NFL right now. I'm excited. I had a first-round draft pick in C.J. Henderson that went with Jacksonville.
Oh, wow.
Went to play to Florida. I had another kid, a second-round pick, Josh Uche, who's here with the Patriots, 20 minutes from here.
Oh, wow. So, that's awesome.
We have a handful of kids across the NFL right now, and took a lot of pride in that job.
That's amazing, Coach. You did a wonderful job down there, and read a lot about the program, and it just seemed like it was like you went 14 out of 18 for state championships or for championships, correct?
Yeah, we made it to the state championship, but for me, it was important that we probably some of the best compliments that we got from seasoned coaches down there was that we weren't a team, we were a program, because there's a difference.
Yeah.
You know? And I think from 2005 to the time I left, we were always in the mix. We were always in the talk about the state championship game. We were in a very competitive bracket. Some of the names, I still can't believe some of the names that we played against as high school kids that are, they're all across the NFL right now.
Yeah.
It was an exciting time, and it's a great program, great school. And then the minute I leave, they turn right around and win the state championship. So
that's the way it goes. Yeah. That's crazy. So now you come to Bryant. What's the transition like coming to Bryant, going back to the college, a Division I college, and also what's the like moving to a Rhode Island, like such a small state where you can just drive to one end to the other end?
Well, the cool part about Florida and Bryant, I-95 runs right through it.
Yeah.
So it's just a different part of it. And listen, I grew up in Indiana. For me, living in Miami for 18 years was a pretty long vacation. I missed the seasons. I truly did, and there was nothing more exciting for my wife than for to see her face for the first time, looking at the color changes here in the fall, especially. And it's a great part of the country. Salt of the earth people around here. It truly is. It's a great Bryant's. The people at Bryant are awesome. President Makeley, is just a genuine human being, and then Bill Smith, our athletic director. They're just good people. They're football guys.
Yeah.
But obviously, President Makeley resigned and retired, and then President Gattel, I've yet to have the opportunity to have a chance to sit and meet with him. But just the people involved in the program and the school are awesome.
That's awesome. Yeah, Bryant's a great place, great college, great university. Had a great experience with an interview with another coach from Bryant, Phil Martelli Jr.
Mm-hmm.
Spoke with him, so for basketball, so it was awesome. But how are you guys handling everything currently with what's going on with coronavirus and with the season being on pause?
Yeah, the only way you're going to get away this, we would be hypocrites as coaches if we didn't teach our kids about adversity and facing adversity and how you deal with it.
Yeah.
If we didn't do it a good job ourselves at it. And listen, the attitude's been great with the kids. It really has been. They have done everything that we've asked them to do. Most importantly, like I said, I just want to get them back on campus, see their faces, because we really felt after the way we ended the season last year and our workouts through the winter, that we really had things, and we still have things going in the right direction. And these guys are excited to get back to work and start doing things. We did the best we could virtually.
Yeah.
But nothing beats being able to walk out the back door onto that field and start playing and coaching football.
I love it. That's such a football guy thing to say too. Just that like fresh cut grass, right? And just being able to get out there and just hear the cleats clack across the locker room. Yep.
Most frustrating part about the last 6 months is sitting behind a computer. I'm not a computer guy. If I wanted to do that, I would have gotten on the line of work. To be honest with you, maybe this is selfish, but because of the group sizes we've got moving forward, since we can't put all 120 kids on the field at one point, we're going to have 2 smaller practices.
Oh.
Well, some of the younger guys are bummed out about that. And I'm like, I'm excited. That means I get to have another practice. I get to spend twice as much on the field.
Yeah.
That's why I do this. I don't do this to sit behind the desk and wear khakis. I do this because I like the sweaty grit in the back of the neck. I love blowing the whistle and getting and coaching football. And that's what I want to do.
That's amazing, Coach. I think Bryant is just extremely lucky to have you because, they got a guy that's just so passionate about football, and obviously that passion is gonna come with the team, and the staff and the players are just gonna feel that passion. Just obviously gonna run through a brick wall for you.
Well, let me tell you what I'm excited. I think we got things going the right direction. You know what the transfer portal is?
Yes, I do. Yep.
Well, you look all across the landscape of college football, and you can really tell a lot about the culture of a football program and by how many kids are in the portal. There's some programs not too far from me that got 20 plus kids in the portal. That blows me away.
Yeah.
I'm excited and proud of the fact that the loudest statement that our players can make without saying anything is that we have 120 kids in the roster, but we don't have anybody in the portal.
That's amazing.
And it's got nothing to do with playing time. I mean, even the fourth string kid who hasn't been on the field yet and might not get on the field still wants to be here. So I think that's a pretty good indicator about how we treat the young men here, and how they feel being in the program and the culture we've got going right
now. I love it, Coach. I'm excited. Hopefully this season gets back together. I would love to come to a game and experience that culture, and so watch you do your work and watch your team do work on the field.
I'm looking forward to it, man. Hopefully we get a spring season.
Yeah, I hope so too. I was going to ask, what, is there an outlook on the current season, or with everything, you're just kind of taking it day by day?
No, we're pushing to play in the spring. Even though October 1st is our decision date on if we're going to do anything this fall, realistically, unless there's a big turn in a positive direction, I don't know if it's going to happen. I'm optimistic. I'm the total optimist in the world right now.
Yeah.
Okay? But the realist in me says, chances are we're going to be like the rest of college football and push for a spring season, and that's what we're going to try to do.
Good. I hope everything works out that way, and I hope you guys do good a spring season, and looking forward to you guys getting back on the field and getting back out there and winning some games in Rhode Island, and maybe bringing a championship to Rhode Island.
Oh, that's my goal.
I love it. I got one last question for you that has nothing to do with football. What has been your favorite part of Rhode Island outside of football?
Well, that is because one of the last in the last 6 months, I've done more local exploring.
Yep.
Than I ever thought that I would. My wife, bless her heart, has found so many. Here's how small the world is. She ropes me into going to this lavender farm about 3 months ago.
Okay.
And so what I did was I took my man card, laid it on the table, walked out the door with her, and we go down to this lavender farm, and in the parking lot, this older gentleman that's parking cars you can tell he's got a Hispanic or a Cuban accent.
Yeah.
Who's English. She picks up on it right away, and they start talking in Spanish, and sure enough, he's from Miami. And we're thinking how small the world is, and he's telling us that his son he's an anesthesiologist, he owns the farm down there, and that's where they're from, and he moved up here to take care of the farm, and we were discussing things more, and he mentions, oh, by the way, he graduated from a place called Columbus High School. And I said, wow, how small is the world. Yeah. where the guy that owns the farm up here is a graduate of the high school that has worked at for 18 years. That's awesome. So there's a lot of natural places. I love being outside. So my favorite thing about Rhode Island is being able to get outside, and there's a lot of nice places to visit and hike and walk around here. And that's been my favorite part so far.
That's awesome, Coach. We in Rhode Island, and Bryant's very lucky to have you. If you ever find yourself in Wesley, live in West Rhode Island, let me know. I'll take you to some good restaurants, tell you where to go, to good places to go. And
I know it ain't gonna take me long to get there.
Yeah, no, definitely not. Well, if you're originally from Rhode Island, you're gonna have to pack like a bag, a cooler, and everything like that because you're traveling. But Coach, this has been amazing. I can't thank you enough for making time for me to come on the show, and I appreciate you and your time.
Awesome. Well, I appreciate you, Jeff. And if you have any questions, don't hesitate to give me a call.
All right. Thanks a lot, Coach. I appreciate it. Have a good one.
You too. See ya.
See ya.